Hello, 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 all of my fabulous, beautiful people. And how are you all doing today? I hope that you are all having a fabulous, fabulous day. Hello, Joe. Good to see you. I'm glad that you could be here. So, today I wanted to come on and do something kind of different, a little bit fun, still has to do with pseudoscience, but it involves a funny story of my husband and I, which brought me to this moment. So I want to talk about that. So at the beginning of the week, my husband and I went and picked our daughter up from school. And we were walking to go get a coffee and a donut because when she has a good day, we usually head over to Tim Hortons and get her a donut, or we'll go over to the little shop and grab her a slushie. She has a thing with that. I want a donut, I want a slushie. So it's like our little reward system. So she had a good day at school. So we were like, let's go get coffee and donuts and have a good time. It was a beautiful day out, completely sunny. It was warm weather, which we have not had a lot of. We had some snow hit us again after we had some nice weather for about a week. So, it was one of those days where you were just happy to be outside. Yay, me, I'm outside. It's a beautiful day walking down the street with my family. And we're walking down the road, and there is a woman across the street from us, and she's sitting on a walker. And she's just kind of sitting on the sidewalk on her walker, and we don't really think anything of it too much at all.
Facing the street.
She's just sitting there watching the cars go by one at a time. It was a little weird because she was just sitting there facing the street watching cars go by, but it wasn't too strange. We didn't think anything of it really. We just kind of noticed her, made a comment about, oh, well, it's weird she's watching the cars go by, and then continued on our way. Around that time, my daughter actually asked my husband to help her with something. So we had stopped on the side of the road for a second, and we're paying attention to our kid for a few minutes. We're not really looking up, looking around. Our backs are turned to the road. And when we look up again, the lady who had just been behind us, sitting on the walker, was now about 2 blocks ahead of us. And my husband sees her and looks at me and says, "She was behind us, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, she was behind us."
Let's not forget she was in the exact same pose as before.
Yeah, she had sat back down on a walker. And so it was like, how did she get there so fast? What just happened? So my husband says, "Baby, I think we just traveled through time. I think we just entered a vortex." And
Time jump.
yeah, you know me. I'm looking at him like, what? You think what? So I'm just blank staring at my husband now, like, excuse me, what did you think happened? And he's like freaking out at this point because now I'm just staring at him. So he thinks I'm staring at him in disbelief at the fact that we had just gone through what he called a time warp, right? Yeah, she teleported. She teleported. So
It
my
was crazy,
husband,
Joe.
my
I
husband's
promise.
like, "I think we just went backwards like 45 seconds to 60 seconds in time." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?"
There was no way this old lady, sorry, but older lady, especially with her walker, was that quick to get that far ahead of us in that short of time. It was just impossible.
So my husband's like, "I think we just went backwards in time." And so now I'm like staring at him, probably jaw dropped, just in disbelief that the man I married, anti pseudoscience over here, he's looking at me on the street in real time, telling me that we have time warped, as he kept calling it. And I am like, I really don't think that we did. And just as he's starting to really lose it, like he's actually getting scared, like, oh my God, I don't know. Like, this is so crazy. He looks at me and goes, "I have to stop smoking weed." I'm like, no, like, okay. Um, the lady literally stands up with her walker and just starts walking quicker than I have ever seen an old lady with a walker walk in my life. And I just burst out laughing.
And I realized my dream was over.
And my husband's like, oh, never mind. She's just really fast. And I was like, oh my God, I can't even with this. I just can't.
Never seen someone walk so fast with a walker. I'm sorry.
So my husband this week went through a situation with our family where he actually thought that he time traveled, but he called it time warp. So I thought it would be fun if today, if I came on here, told the story, and then we actually took a little bit of a deep dive into time travel, time warping, whatever you want to call it, because, well, you'll find out why I think it's necessary. So without further ado, let's play the intro and get this party started.
It's astounding. Time is fleeting. Madness takes its toll. But listen closely.
Not for very much longer.
I've got to keep control.
I remember doing the time warp, drinking those moments when the black mist would hit me and the void would be calling. Let's do the time warp again. Let's do the time warp again.
It's just a jump to the left. With your hands on your hips.
It's August 17th, 1969. Yesterday, Charles Manson was arrested. It was all over the newspaper, so I'm here to visit the spot that him and I shared a root beer float and a cigarette right there.
Guys, I am here in the year 2020. I just came back from a different time period. I brought something special with me. This is going to blow your freaking mind. This is so cool. I haven't seen one of these. And in fact, if you look this up, you won't be able to find it because it doesn't exist anymore and it never will exist anymore. Let me show you. I have with me a basketball, Wilson basketball from 1975 where I just came from. Look for this ball. It does not exist. If anybody could prove me wrong, prove me wrong.
So, as you can see, apparently my husband is not the only one ever who has thought he has time traveled. Yes, time for Doctor Who. I was going to do a Doctor Who meme, but I was like, it's too much. So I thought it would be fun if we just kind of like took a little look at what people say about time travel. Can it happen? Is it a thing? What do people think about it? You know. So first of all, let's just take a look at the usual Wikipedia page here. which explains what time travel is. So basically, it's the concept of movement between certain points in time, analogized to movement between different points in space by an object or a person, typically with the use of a hypothetical device known as a time machine. Time travel is a widely recognized concept in philosophy and fiction, particularly science fiction. And the idea of a time machine was popularized by H.G. Wells' 1895 novel, The Time Machine, which you can see a picture of the original novel right here. They say then it's uncertain if time travel to the past is physically possible. I personally don't believe in time travel, but as you guys can see, it's been a concept for a very, very long time, to the point where people have actually made time machines in real life. They've made machines that they thought could get them to travel through time. Usually back in the 1800s. We had a little bit of it in like the 1900s and whatnot, but a lot of it honestly was in the 1800s. It kind of came back in the 70s. It seems like the idea of this comes and is really popular for a while, and then it goes away, and then it kind of comes back, and then it goes away. People kind of believe it in rogues, and you would think that here in, our present day, that people would not believe in time travel. However, all over TikTok right now, apparently, are people that are claiming that they can travel through time.
I'll make a time machine.
So basically, I thought it would be fun because if we're going to talk about time travel, I think one of the things that we do have to talk about is quantum reality and quantum physics, of course, because without those things, you're never going to travel through time. So I did a little bit of faux research, just because this is just a fun Saturday stream to me, and I don't want to be on here for 3 hours. I'm not going to lie to you. But quantum reality is a perception of what reality really is. Kind of like how my husband perceived that we traveled through time and went backwards for 60 seconds, and I perceived that he had lost his goddamn mind. Like that. Everyone has a different perception of reality. Says there are several theories and schools of thought that quantum physicists have come up with by using complex math, something I don't do, to try to understand what quantum reality truly is. It's basically like what is actually real, if you will. So here are like the main theories. So I think we should go through these. Quantum reality number 1 is that there is no deep reality. All right. So this is the Copenhagen interpretation of reality. There is no deep reality. What the senses experience is not denied. The world we see around us is real enough, but it floats on a world that is not as real. Everyday phenomena are themselves built not out of phenomena, but out of an utterly different kind of being. Of course, this is very pseudoscience-y to me. Quantum reality number 2. Reality is created by observation. Now, part of this I believe to be true because, of course, you're going to perceive your, own experience in life and on this earth in your own ways. You are going to interpret the world in a different way than, let's say, the person next to you. But that does not actually mean that reality is then not reality. It's just your perception. Anyway, they say reality is created by observation. So this is the second part of the Copenhagen interpretation. What we see is undoubtedly real, but these phenomena are not really there in the absence of an observation. The Copenhagen interpretation consists of 2 parts. There is no reality in the absence of observation, or observation creates reality. You create your own reality, which, like I said, again, that does have truth to it. If you really think about logically, we all observe things differently and interpret things differently and experience everything differently, even emotions differently. So it makes sense that, we would then create our reality based on how we view the world. Quantum reality number 3 is that reality is an undivided wholeness. This is the view that Walter Heitler came up with. In spite of its obvious partitions and boundaries, the world in actuality is a seamless and inseparable whole, which, by the way, would also probably mean it's not flat. I'm just saying. This is also a conclusion that is made in the tale of physics. So, again, we have some real science being used here. Quantum reality number 4. Reality consists of a steadily increasing number of parallel universes. Now, right now, for some reason, like I said, in our world, we seem to be having a thing going on TikTok where people seem to think they can time shift and shift to different dimensions, if you will.
Have you never heard of the multi-universe?
Yeah, the multi-universe and whatnot. So I believe this is the one that's kind of resurfaced in our world as of recently. And it says, this is the many worlds interpretation created by Hugh Everett. For any situation in which several different outcomes are possible, all outcomes actually occur in order to accommodate different outcomes without contradiction. Entire new universes are created, identical in every way except for the single outcome that gave them birth. So again, he kind of said our world has a whole bunch of Hello? Yes. What's on sci-fi at the time? Yeah, basically. You want to time travel? If a tree falls in the woods and no one is around, does it make a sound? See, that's kind of what that's based on, right? Yeah, I think my audio messed up for a minute. I'm sorry, guys. So basically, this one says that there's different universes. A lot of people are apparently believing that one right now. All the outcomes occur, but in different universes. And apparently, the universes get created based on the outcomes occurring, which is a little bit odd to me. So I guess they don't exist before the different outcomes. I'm not really sure. Then quantum reality number 5 is that the world obeys a non-human kind of reasoning. So, non-human reasoning is called quantum logic. The quantum revolution goes so deep that replacing new concepts with old will not suffice. To cope with the quantum facts, we must scrap our very mode of reasoning in favor of a new quantum logic. So again, I guess we just won't understand it's non-human. So I won't be able to understand it. Quantum reality number 6 says that the world is made of ordinary objects. This is the neo-realism view. An ordinary object is an entity which possesses attributes of its own, whether observed or not. With certain exceptions, such as mirages, illusions, and hallucinations, the world outside seems populated with object-like entities. So basically, that's kind of like the world actually does exist. Quantum reality number 7 is an interesting one, and it's that consciousness creates reality. This view is at the center of many religions. So this is kind of the one that, like all religions follow. An apparatus endowed with consciousness, such as a sentient human being or God, is able to create reality. The one observer that counts is the conscious observer. Cults also like that one, by the way. I just felt like I would bring that up.
So the only one that mattered with seeing the woman was me.
Okay. Quantum reality number 8 is that the world is twofold, consisting of potentials and actualities. This is the duplex world of Werner Heisenberg. What the two parts of the Copenhagen interpretation, quantum reality, number 1 and 2, have in common is the assertion that only phenomena are real. The world beneath phenomena is not. So there are a lot of theories that have been created as to what actually is reality, what is quantum reality, what actually exists out here. And then I found this really fun article, which I would really like to read because it made me laugh a lot. And if I'm going to be doing this, we're of course going to be looking at a few people that believe that this is all a real thing. I don't think you can time travel, move to different dimensions. I'm pretty sure that this is the only world that exists, that we can live on, that we're all here in the same time, okay? All right. So I found this amazing website, which I think I'm going to dive into in future because it looks hella fun for someone like me. And it's called Wake Up World. It's time to rise and shine. And it's all about, different pseudoscientific beliefs that you can follow to better your life, basically, is what we're looking at. So I found this article that says how to jump timelines, mastering quantum reality, which is why I wanted to go through all of the different types of quantum reality so that you would know them all. In case you weren't aware, I didn't know all of those. I knew of a few, but not all of them. So that when we read this, we would have an understanding of the beliefs of this going into this crazy article. So it says, the quantum field. Hold on, guys. Do I need to make this bigger? Would it be helpful if my computer gets silly sometimes with this? Is that more helpful? Yeah, I feel like then you guys can see it. I'm sorry. Okay, that's better. So, the quantum field is a wild beast that perplexes even the most astute minds. Not really, but okay. It seems to fluctuate back and forth between free will and determinism. Its rhythm is nonlinear, and it unfolds frequently in an unpredictable fashion. One could hardly grasp that the universe's editing software for seamlessly splicing and pasting together the strip of film before us, yeah, we copy pasta everything, is when we blink our eyes. So I guess don't blink. If we are anything, even before human, we are quantum animals. I mean, technically, yeah, human sapiens are mammals. Okay. So I'll be covering the quantum field of timelines. Lovely. What exactly is a timeline? And how you can master being at the cause and not the effect end of quantum mechanics, therefore becoming a master of this reality. A master. Don't you all just want to be a master? A quantum reality. Joe says, yes, I do. I want to be a master. A quantum reality master. And we can do this, she says we can do it, by first understanding that the quantum field is made up of pure potential that is expressed as waveforms. Our consciousness acts as an antenna that translates these waveforms into what's known as interference patterns, and then once more into particles that make up everything in the physical world, including ourselves. I mean, are we talking about atoms and molecules and all that? Because, I mean, technically, yeah, but it's not, it takes it a little far. But providing the raw materials for reality is not where the magic of waveforms stop. Now we got magic in here. We all know how I feel about that. They also shape an infinite number of past, present, and futures. We have no grammar in this thing. Apparently, there's just no commas, since they can accommodate all possibility. We call these past, presents, and futures a timeline. I guess that's the timeline. The past, present, and future. It usually is the timeline of your life, but she is very innovative. For anyone who is familiar with the Mandela effect, which I think we should look into that one further later on, that is one of the most common examples of memories being carried over from a prior timeline we were on into the timeline we currently occupy. We are shifting timelines more often than not, and many anomalies are left as the artifacts of this.
There's so much stuff that happened in the 90s that say they didn't happen. That's the Mandela effect on you.
Yeah, we need to look into that one. That will be fun. With the quantum field consisting of limitless potential, the way it even knows what timeline to activate and materialize is through a feedback loop. So we're just on loop. 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 Okay, I'll stop now. I'm sorry.
Please do.
In fact, when you're operating at this level of reality, because now there's also levels, not just timelines, it's so ambiguous, you will need a feedback loop to guide the output. Now we need a whole guide. Maybe that's where she comes in.
And multiple loops.
And lots of looping. And the guiding force that tells the feedback loop what to produce is the choices we make. The synergy of our thoughts, actions, and feelings are what the feedback loop, that awful grammar, and therefore reality is responding to. That's one way of putting that. To illustrate this, the field starts off as countless possibilities that begin to narrow into probabilities through the choices we make. These probabilities are like vibrational momentum, building up much like an ocean wave. Maybe they need some ASEA salt water. These probabilities continue to drop off, that doesn't sound fun, and further narrow the more that we focus our choices until probability turns into actuality, which is what manifested. We just manifest things here, and this process happens every single moment. Yep, I just turned this stream into actuality, along with my awful reading. So let's say, oh look, we're going to do another story time. So let's say we choose to venture down a path of awakening our consciousness. The quantum field organizes a new trajectory with the full unfoldment of that choice, containing all possibilities and all probabilities. It just like contains everything. Contains everything. It's just misremembering. Yeah, Joe, we'll get into it. I believe so too. I also believe so. That makes me laugh a little bit though. But anyway, it just incorporates all of it, which again, I thought that the possibilities led to the anyway. The more conscious we become, the more we are reinforcing the timelines that reflect that choice. What this does is establish a feedback loop between us and all of the potential future versions of ourselves that we are aligning with. Oh my God, how many of me's are there? We do not need any more than one. And through this feedback loop, the potential future versions of ourselves send us the resources we would require in order to actualize them. This is also reflected in the ancient wisdom. You cannot travel the path until you become the path itself. I don't think that meant that my future self was going to time travel to me and hand me over a bunch of resources from the future, though. But okay, your choices now are already activating potential future versions of yourself. I mean, yes, in a way, If you're learning and growing, there'll be a future version of yourself. But I just don't believe that there's like a whole bunch of me, future versions of queens, just like waiting for me to become one of them out there in the universe, and that there's different universes or worlds with different families of mine doing different things. I don't know. That's weird. But anyway, she continues on to say, there are multiple versions of reality on Earth, and we are constantly aligning, otherwise known as jumping timelines, whether we are conscious of it or not. So this is why my husband was like, oh my God, we just jumped backwards 60 seconds. I was like, no, that's not a thing, but okay. Then it says that we can look at timelines a few different ways. We have personal timelines and collective timelines. There are events constantly happening that continuously alter these timelines again and again. That's how life works. Our personal timelines consist of the past and present choices we make every day. They are impacted by our socioeconomic status, desires, karmic imprints, and belief systems. Depending on how much of our free will we are using, we either make predictable and established choices that we hope lead to a future we have envisioned, or we can implement more chance and uncertainty that would open up the timelines containing entirely different potential futures. That sounds fun. If we are content on our current trajectory, the less likely we are to make radical choices, no shit, that would lead to radical changes in direction. Very good. Cause and effect. So it's a matter of personal preference. However, this is where fate comes into play. We always hear, oh, sweetheart, Jesus Christ. We always hear about free will and determinism. Either this is all the random creation of our own doing, which I personally believe, or this is all predetermined, set in stone from a higher level. Which again, that's what a lot of people that are religious or spiritual believe, is that they have like some kind of life that's already planned out for them. And it's like a god or another being, someone out there and living in the sky or something, helps them live that life and has it all planned out for them, and will, if they pray to them, then they'll give them what they need to get there. That kind of thing. That's basically what that is. I'm not trying to throw shade at it or spade at it. I'm just saying. And we are merely the figments that were hallucinated to play out those choices that were already made. Now, that's a little bit too far, because I don't think many people who are religious actually believe that we're all hallucinations, but I get what they're trying to say. And this person might actually believe that. This either or mentality is a result of imbalance within the hemispheres of the mental body. There is a degree of fate that is at work in our life, just as there is a degree of free will. Fate is the lessons we came into this life wanting to experience, and free will is the journey of how those lessons are lived. Fate can and does intervene when it feels we are not as proactive as we could be. But what is not guaranteed is how well our outcomes come into fruition. That is all left up to our actions, discernment, and willpower. Now let's focus on the collective timelines. This is where it gets fun. Imagine that there is already multiple versions of reality on Earth, and it's not flat either. And in the past of one of these versions of reality, World War I just never happened. That would significantly alter the future of that reality. Not to mention the ripples that would create. Like there'd be no taxes. Now apply this same concept to any event that was devastating and could be traumatizing to our collective psyche. And you could see that although there is an infinite number of potential timelines, that it's less likely we'd be able to access the ones that are prosperous and optimal if our collective psyche is continuously being directed into timelines that are disempowering. Well, tell your psyche to get with it. As I mentioned, we shift collective timelines frequently, but the wider the jump from our current reality, the more awareness is required to do so. What this means is if we want to experience an optimal and prosperous timeline, we would need to stop feeding the official narratives that limit our true potential and start taking conscious actions that reflect the timeline we would want to call forth. This is how we step into our spiritual sovereignty. I definitely said that wrong. To give you an example of how much our environment affects the input to our feedback loop. Let's say the media for 6 months straight, on repeat, oh God, blasts us with the message that celestial bodies were coming toward Earth at a rate that would accelerate our mitochondria function, thereby creating a cascading effect that unlocks more of our DNA. We would all be flying around like Superman in 6 months. Well, I mean, according to the video we watched at the beginning of this stream, the guy did say that this year in 2022, 5 people would be told that they have superpowers. So apparently this might be happening. That's how powerful the input from our environment is to shaping our consensus reality. I really don't think it would work. Like, I just really don't. As our consciousness transitions to a higher frequency, we start to experience the living reality of synchronicity. I was laughing at me so hard right now. Even
Synchronicity.
that's not what it says.
Synchronicity.
No, it's synchronicity. Even the universal law, we're both wrong, watch. Even the universal law of cause and effect is more lenient when we are living a path that is in alignment with true order. I say true order because waveforms are inherently chaotic, which is why they represent the principle of chaos. Well, that, I'm sorry. Thanks, sis. And when they stabilize into what has manifested, this is what we call order. Order in the courtroom. For better or worse, it's called order, even if it's not technically order. And this girl needs to figure out how to put her words in better order. And this is the true meaning of a new world order. Dun, dun, dun. Everyone has their own version of New World Order. We got the QAnon one with politics, and now we have the time travel one. It sounds scary because they want it to. Oh no. But when you strip it down, violating to its acoustics, chaos is being generating intentionally so that they can use that to harness potential timelines into this realm to create a new order. Oh my God, what are we going to do? There's always going to be a new order because change is constant. So don't be intimidated by that term. Okay, culty. Instead, know that you can also make a new world order as well. Oh, is this the problem? Everyone's like, I'll make a new world order. I'll make one.
Game off this just by the word order.
New world order. All we're doing is turning chaos, which is the quantum field of pure potential, into the manifest, which is order. And we do this by healing the trauma held within the body and the mind, becoming conscious, as only conscious observers have the power to impact the field, and by taking actions that reflect the timeline we would like to shift to. Now it's sounding like what Keith Raniere wrote with a little bit of time travel twist. And that's what manifesting really is. Well, we should know how I feel about manifesting things here as well. It's aligning with the timeline where that thing that's wanting to be manifested is already occurring. So there is another world where I have 1 million subscribers on YouTube and I am rich. That world exists. I just haven't manifested enough yet. And I definitely haven't healed the trauma held within my mind. So that must be why I am not meeting that timeline, I guess. Timelines split all of the time. She's a wordsmith, this one. They split no different than the way a cell divides. Oh, we know how that works. Interesting how you would know that and then still think that we could travel through different dimensions, but okay. We pulsate into and out of this reality every 10.44 cycles per second through a physics formula known as Fourier's transform. And if you want me to look into that in future, we can. Those who are making choices that align with timelines where there is an awakening are experiencing that feedback loop, incrementally into a future with less external dissonance. And that reflects the internal unity we have actualized through our healing journey. See, now it's sounding a little MLM-ish, but you're never going to see an actual split. What? You just said that they split all the time. Even though it's doing that as we speak. Okay. Instead, I'm just sad now. What you will see is the journey of the choices you made. And the really cool thing is the more you use your free will to make radical changes and empowered choices, your free will becomes a conduit to the higher order of this universe. And the higher order of the universe is expressed as, oh God, there's that word again, Trevor. What are we going to do? Synchronicity, aligning things to make it look like it was fate all along. So this person also does not believe in fate, which is weird because I feel like they were talking a lot about it. But that was very interesting to me. That was a little bit of a deep dive into the world, one of the worlds anyway, of the belief systems of the people that seem to think that they can travel to different universes and times. These kids on TikTok today, they're reading articles like this one, shame on you, lady, and then they're going, oh, I could time travel to different worlds. And it's a little strange, but that's what's basically happening. So I actually looked up a full study on this. It's extremely long. We're not going to go through the whole thing, but it's all about quantum theory and reality. There's 27 chapters to this thing. I have read a whole bunch of it. This is the quantum theory and reality chapter. And I think that what we should go through is a little bit of the conclusion here, because, just to kind of tie things off and just kind of tie it up. Hello, Jan. Nice to see you. Free will. Free Willy. Free Willy. But yes, I feel like this has some good points that I want to bring up. They say that quantum mechanics is clearly superior to classical mechanics for the description of microscopic phenomena, and in principle works equally well for macroscopic phenomena. Hence, it is at least plausible that the mathematical and logical structure of quantum mechanics better reflect physical reality than do their classical counterparts. If this reasoning is accepted, quantum theory requires various changes in our view of physical reality relative to what was widely accepted before the quantum era. Among them, the following. Number 1, physical objects never possess a completely precise position or momentum. Number 2, the fundamental dynamical laws of physics are stochastic and not deterministic. So, from the present state of the world, one cannot infer a unique future or past course of events. Number 3, the principle of unicity does not hold. There is not a unique, exhaustive description of a physical system or a physical process. Instead, reality is such that it can be described in various alternative, incompatible ways using descriptions which cannot be combined or compared. All of these, and especially the third, represent radical revisions of the pre-quantum view of physical reality based upon, or at least closely allied to, classical mechanics. At the same time, it is worth emphasizing that there are other respects in which the development of quantum theory leaves previous ideas about physical reality unchanged, or at least very altered. The following is not an exhaustive list, but indicates a few of the ways in which the classical and quantum viewpoints are quite similar. So then they go into all of that. I think it will be really boring if I just sat here and like read through all of this. When I am done this stream, I am of course going to leave all of the links to all of this in the description down below. But I just want to bring your attention to this part right here, because this is the part that I think is true of all of this. If there is anything that's true in terms of time travel or how we perceive reality in different ways, I do think that it's just this one, And that's that the world can be understood without supposing that there are mysterious influences which propagate over long distances more rapidly than the speed of light. I think that's an interesting concept. Then it says that there are superluminal influences has come about because of the inadequate understanding of quantum measurements. In particular, the assumption that wave function collapse is a physical process, or through assuming the existence of hidden variables instead of, or in addition to, the quantum Hilbert space, or by employing counterfactual arguments which do not satisfy the single framework rule. So I feel like we do still need some more research into this, but it's not like any of this actually proves that like there are different worlds out there. Number 3 is the last important point that I want to bring up, which says that both quantum mechanics and classical mechanics are consistent with the notion of an independent reality. A real world whose properties and fundamental laws do not depend upon what human beings happen to believe, desire, or think. While this real world contains human beings, among other things, it existed long before the human race appeared on the surface of the earth, and our presence is not essential for it to continue. So I found that very interesting as well. I think it is an interesting thought, and maybe we need to be reminded of that. To be sure, though, neither quantum nor classical mechanics provides watertight arguments in favor of an independent reality. In the final analysis, believing that there is a real world out there independent of ourselves is a matter of faith. The point is that quantum mechanics is just as consistent with this faith as was classical mechanics. On the other hand, quantum theory indicates that the nature of this independent reality is in some respects quite different from what was earlier thought to be the case, which again just goes to show that even the realities that we believe our world to be, it depends on our knowledge of the world at that time, all of that kind of stuff, right? Hello, Kate. Good to see you. Welcome to Professor Queen's TED Talk on time travel and quantum physics and whatnot, quantum reality and all that fun stuff. So I am going to be looking more into this because I find it to be really interesting. And I also cannot believe that there are so many people out there that think that they can time travel or go to different realities. I personally do not believe that there are different worlds in existence with like different versions of myself, as that woman claimed to say there was in her blog. Multi-universes. I don't believe in that. I do think there is just one universe, but that does not mean that we all share the same reality. Just small things, of course, like the fact that my husband wears glasses and I don't. I see things differently than he does. I know that's a very, very basic, silly example, but it's pretty simple because it works. The way you perceive the world may be different, but that doesn't necessarily mean that there are different worlds out there. Just like my husband and I did not actually travel backwards in time, and the woman actually just really knew how to walk fast despite having a walker. All right, so that's the other thing. Don't ever judge people that are using walkers, okay? They fast. Just gonna throw that out there too before I end this.
She was very fast.
She was very, very fast. So again, I think that it would be fun to look further into this. I like looking at all of this. This is a pseudoscience belief system. It's a bunch of people thinking that there's different dimensions and different worlds and different timelines. And I mean, to an extent, you know, you live your life and there's different routes you can take in your life that will have different outcomes. But I don't think that they're already pre-mapped out for you or in different universes. And then you cross over to a universe. I don't believe in the Mandela effect. I don't believe in different dimensions.
That's definitely true.
I don't believe that you can go through a vortex and end up somewhere. I just don't, I don't personally believe in any of that stuff. So I think it will be fun if in future we also dive into all of those pseudoscience stuff, especially since, like I said, people seem to be believing them again right now. I don't know what's going on in our world where pseudoscience has come back so crazy hard and everyone seems to be believing it, but that's what's happening. We're in a time where unfortunately that's the case. And so until that ends, I'm going to be here talking about people that make TikToks, you know, that are like this one.
It's August 17th, 1969. Yesterday, Charles Manson was arrested. It was all over the newspaper, so I'm here to visit the spot that him and I shared a root beer float and a cigarette right there.
Sweetie, you're like 20 years old. You weren't alive in 1969. You're on TikTok. Did they have the cell phone in 1969? Why does that look torn up like it hasn't been used since 1969? You have not time traveled. There's no time warp, but it's a thing on TikTok. And I'm sorry, but I need to laugh about it a little bit, maybe talk about it. And hopefully at some point there might be people that see it and realize that they're just being silly. Okay, and that it's a great thing to imagine, I guess, if you want to have some fun. But other than that, it's a bunch of bull hooey. So again, I thought that it would be fun because I had a little story time that kind of brought us here because I had to look into it.
And Joe was 6 years old, he said.
Yeah, in 1969, I don't think, you know, YouTube wasn't a thing. I wouldn't be here right now. Although I would love to be around when Charles Manson got arrested. I can't pretend like I wouldn't have loved that. But, you know, speaking of Charles Manson, actually, I am going to be doing my video on him in 3 weeks. It should be up. I do have people asking The next part will be up in a few weeks. So now you don't have to ask me about it under every video anymore. Yay! So please do give this stream a like, subscribe if you are new here. I would love it if you joined our fabulous, amazing members. All of the beautiful people do. And you don't want to be ugly and time travel. I'm having trouble coming up with reasons why people are ugly because everybody out here is beautiful. I love all of you. Thank you so much for being here. And I will see y'all in the next one, which again, I will be live with Alonda tonight. And I think we are going to be talking about On Passive again. So that will be fun. And then I will be back on Monday with a video. So to see us out, we're going to do some more time warp. Alrighty, so have a fabulous, fabulous day. Take care. Bye.
It's astounding. Time is fleeting. Madness takes its toll. But listen closely.
Not for very much longer.
I've got to keep control.
I remember doing the time warp, drinking those moments when the blackness would hit me and the void would be calling. Let's do the time warp again. Let's do the time warp again.
It's just a jump to the left. With your hands on your hips.
Happy birthday, Kay!